Welcome to another episode of Before You Kill Yourself with your host, Leo Flowers. I am Leo Flowers. Today is December 6th. I just got off a cruise ship. I'm feeling real good. I just met some friends in Miami that I haven't seen in forever. I met a cousin who I haven't seen in maybe 30 years in Miami. Had a wonderful dinner with friends and family. That's what this time of year is about, reconnecting with people or deepening our connections with ourselves, with our purpose, with our community, our country. But this is also a time where people experience a lot of emotions, right? Where either it's because you're going to see the family or you have no family to go see. And a lot of loss can happen at this time of year. I saw a lot of car accidents when I was in Miami. And I thought that was sad. You know, the ambulance were pulling up and I'm like, these are people who probably had plans to be with their family and now they're probably going to spend it either in a hospital. I don't know if those people lived or not, but they looked to seem like they were major car accidents. And so hopefully the purpose of today's podcast, I hope, is to give you some strength, some purpose, but also I want you to feel seen. I want to warn you, I'm going to read something from a book I just read, Anna Karenina. And I'm just going to let you know that if you have not read the book and you intend on reading the book, do not listen to this episode because I'm going to definitely share how it ends and what happens. And because I want to, the book's been out for 100 years. But I want to share with you because I think the message in the book is very valuable, very poignant for this time of year when, like I said, people are very emotional and maybe may make some decisions that are irreversible. So we don't want to do that. But I'm going to start off with every day I read a book called 365 Tao Daily Meditations by Dang Ming Dao. And I hope I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. And so today's reading was about sorrow. So I'm going to read you the excerpt from his book called Sorrow, because like I said, I got a message on Instagram and I've been getting a lot more messages. Thank you for the messages. You can reach out to me, Leo Flowers 2000 on Gmail or at Gmail if you want to send me a message. But you can also message me through Instagram, Leo Flowers 2000, and send me any messages. I love receiving your messages, your words, your thoughts, your ideas. It keeps me going. So thank you very much. So today's reading was about sorrow. And it starts off, when sorrow comes, its bitterness soaks everything. The sages say that life is illusion. But does that change its poignancy? Let us be sad. It is feeling that makes us human. If we gain enlightenment, understanding all life to be a dream, sadness and happiness will fall away soon enough. The greatest sorrow of life is witnessing. Experiencing our own sufferings is not as difficult as watching others held in fate's mighty grip. Bearing our own problems is easier because we are always aware that we can exercise other options up to the final one. However, it hurts the most when we can do nothing for others. The greatest sorrow is to see those we love suffer helplessly. When faced with a sad situation, it is best not to languish in it. We can change things by being with different people, moving to other places, or if all else fails, adjusting our own attitudes to take the initiative. Sadness is transitory, like everything else. If we want to deflect it, we need only alter its context and allow it to be subsumed back into Tao. So what I love about this reading is that it not only is empathizing with us who are experiencing sorrow and sadness, maybe you lost your job, relationship, another person, whatever or maybe you lost mobility. Maybe if you're an athlete or you're very mobile and maybe you're in an accident and now you can't move around the way you used to, or maybe there was a loss of identity where you were demoted. So what this is saying is, you know, it's our feelings that make us human. So when we're crying, if we're angry, if we're disappointed, remember that's part of our human experience. And sadness and happiness will fall away soon enough. So even that joy that you're hoping to have, or that serenity, or that happiness you're hoping to pursue, even once you get that, it will slip away. It's not permanent. It's all transitory. Your pain, the angst, the joy, the triumphs, the ups, the downs, it's all fleeting. It's all ebbing and flowing. And so it behooves us to learn how to ride the wave. And what I really love about the reading is, and even like, for me, like I have, if you've been listening for a while, I struggle with sugar, and I've joined a sugar addicts group, and even my cravings. I remember having a strong craving yesterday for ice cream, and I was just noticing it, watching it, looking at it, like, all right, that's interesting. Maybe I didn't get enough fat and whatever, and then it just disappeared. Now it was a struggle. I mean, it took like a good, I don't know, maybe an hour, but then it just went. I did nothing. I just completely forgot. It just went away. And so it was valuable to me to remember that a lot of times I'm making decisions based on something so transitory, and decisions that could be detrimental to me. And we're going to emphasize that point further with Anna Karenina. And then I'm going to talk about the show, The Power of the Dog. It's a movie on Netflix, but there are no spoilers about that. I'm just going to take a quote from it and talk about that a little bit. So what I love about this reading also is at the end, it gives us ways to deal with our sorrow, right? It says we can change things by being with different people. And we've had that experience. I know I have that for sure, where if I'm sad or upset or something's bothering me, I call somebody and all of a sudden I'm laughing, giggling. You see that with kids, right? Kids, they lose a toy, or they're crying and weeping about something. And then, you get in their face and go, and all of a sudden they just light up. And it's like whatever they were upset about no longer exists. And they just move on very quickly. And that's the beauty of being childlike, of, you can be present and say, you know what, I was upset about a thing, but right now this is funny, so I'm going to enjoy this moment right now. So being with different people. And if you can't be with somebody physically, we can call somebody, right? We have all the numbers listed. We can call an enemy, call a friend, just go. I mean, we all have these $1,000 phone devices, or $100, or, wherever you live, that stores so many phone numbers, and we collect so many phone numbers that we forget all the people that we know. We forget all the contacts that we've made. And a lot of it is we think, I haven't talked to that person in so long. They don't want to hear from me, or they're too busy. They won't pick up. Call them anyway, because you might be right. Yeah, they're busy. Maybe they're going to be weirded out because, you two haven't talked in a while. But the more you do it, then the less awkward it becomes, right? That's the beauty of being human. Part of being human is that we are adaptable. I mean, that's why if you look at humans in northern regions of the world versus southern regions, they're built differently because our bodies adapted to the climate, adapt or die. So that's the beauty of it is, I know when we're in despair and distress, we tend to think of things being fixed, like it's always like this. It'll never happen. And really, life is transitory. Right now, I'm reading a book about a Astrology is by Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's talking about the universe and how the universe, as they've been able to calculate it, is 14 billion years old, right? And the beauty of that is some of the light that we see today, the light that we see from the stars, are been traveling for thousands of years. So we're seeing like ancient light. We're seeing light that emanated from thousands of years ago, right? And I don't even know where I was going with that. But my point is that the universe is expanding. It literally is expanding wider and wider, bigger and bigger, because it's not stagnant. And so same thing with our emotions. Our emotions are not stagnant. They are expanding, right? They are changing. They are dissolving and diluting over time. It's just the way the universe works. So that's a beautiful thing to keep in mind. So it says we can change things by being with different people. It also says moving to other places. So moving to other places, it doesn't mean you go from Budapest to Belgium or from Chiang Mai to Israel. Moving to another place could be as simple as standing in a different place in your house. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but you typically stand and occupy the same spaces in your house 99.9% of the time. There are parts of your house or your apartment or your dwelling or your car, if you live out your car, that you haven't, like if you live out your car, when's the last time you sat in the passenger seat or in the back seat? When's the last time you got in the trunk? Like moving to other places doesn't require a passport necessarily, right? It could be visiting a different coffee shop, going to somebody else's house, going to a different movie theater. I go to the same movie theater all the time because I was like, I like this movie theater. It's convenient. I know where it is. The parking is or whatever. But it's also nice to go to a different movie theater, right? So going to a different place, go to a different park. Parks are free, or most parks, right? Parks are free. Visiting different places, taking a different route around your block, getting in a car, driving, moving to other places. And it doesn't have to be a permanent move. It could be an exploratory move, right? Where you're just going to check it out and see what's it all about. Oh, what's even great for that is going on tours. I was just in Miami, and they had this boat that takes you on a tour of all the mansions, all the rich people's houses, and a lot of cities have these different tours where you can explore and a lot of us don't. If you live in Egypt and they got some tour about the pyramids and stuff, a lot of us don't do it because we live there. But you'll be surprised at what you'll learn and how it gives you an opportunity to see your city, your country, your world differently. So explore those different museums and coffee shops. Go on architecture tours. There's so many ways that we can move to other places that can get us out of our sadness, out of our sorrow, out of our pain, out of our misery, out of our distress, right? Sadness is transitory, right? And then it says, if we can't, if being around different people or moving to different places doesn't work, we can adjust our own attitudes to take the initiative. And what does that mean? It means we can reframe the experience. I'll give you an example. My dad passed away years ago, and I was so upset that he passed away, right? I was just like, man, there's so much I still want to say and a relationship that I want to build. And but then I start to look at it as an opportunity for me and my sisters to connect, to learn. I can learn about my dad through my sisters because I had a different relationship with him. And I can learn about my dad through the environment in which he grew up in. So I started reading up and studying on the city he came from and the state he came from and the school that he went to to get a richer, more complex understanding of who my dad was and what made my dad what he is. And these are just ways for me to connect with my father and to take initiative, to be proactive, to say, how can I engage? How can I accept things as they are and build a relationship that I'm looking for so I can manage my sadness? I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm trying to use it. Remember, emotions are energy, and energy can't be destroyed. It's transitory, though. We can shift energy, right? Just like when you watch a basketball game. Oh, the momentum shifts, it changes. One team was up by 20 and now they're down by 15, or they were down by 15 and now they're up by 30. So I love this reading. Once again, the name of the book is 365 Tao. And it was just a powerful daily meditation. Is something that I needed to read right now, because the idea of emotions being transitory, I want you to hold on to that. I want you to put a pin in that. Don't let that go, because I'm going to read something to you from Anna Karenina, and it's heavy. It's deep, okay? But I want you to sit with me, and like I said, put a pin in emotions are transitory, right? And now, even though Anna Karenina is fictional, the stress and pain that she's experiencing is real. You know, you've listened to enough episodes of this podcast, and I've read enough books to recognize there are people out there who have felt or are feeling the way that she does, okay, in this moment of despair. And so hold on to that idea of emotions are transitory. Now, like I said, if you plan on reading this book, stop reading it. And I'm going to share with you, at the end, she does take her life, Anna Karenina, right? But I want you to hear the emotions that led up to it. So hopefully, if you hear it in yourself, you know to call and get help. Don't wait until the last minute. Don't keep it all into yourself, right? So let me read to you from Anna Karenina a little bit. Okay. So basically she is, I know I keep saying I'm about to start. Basically, she's upset because she was married, got a divorce because she wanted to be with another guy, right? So she was having an affair with her first husband, and then the husband found out, and then she was like, you know what, I'm going to leave you, I'm going to go with this other guy. But the problem was she had a son with the first husband, right? So by being with the other guy and leaving her husband behind, she also left her son behind, because this is set place in the late 1800s where, you know, a woman who cheats on the husband, you're not getting a son, you're not getting a child. So, but she realized how much she loved the child, but you know, she didn't realize that until after she gets with the guy. And now the guy that she's with, that's not going the way she thought it would either, right? So she lost her first husband and her child, and now she's with the second guy that, by the way, she can't marry him because the first husband won't grant her marriage. So they're just separated, right? So she can't get the divorce because the guy won't grant it to her, and she can't have her husband, she can't have her child, and now the life that she's living with the new guy is not what she thought it was going to be, and so she is miserable right now. And so here's what she's thinking, okay? And I'll quote from the book. And listen for the emotional words like shame and terrified and the how she feels judged by others, right? So, quote, she knew what had kept her from it. She knew that she had been ashamed. Her position, which had seemed to her simplified the night before, suddenly struck her now is not only simple, but is absolutely hopeless. So we have shame and we have hopelessness. She felt terrified at the disgrace of which she had never thought before. Directly, she thought of what her husband would do. The most terrible ideas came to her mind. She had a vision of being turned out of the house, of her shame being proclaimed to all the world. So that's humiliation right there, people. She asked herself where she would go when she was turned out of the house, and she could not find an answer. So she's feeling hopeless. She's fearing humiliation. She's experiencing shame, and she's terrified and disgraced, right? And then she goes on to think she could not bring herself to look at those of her own household in the face. So now the people, because she has workers working in a house, like servants, and she can't even look at them. She's so disgraced by her situation. And then she says the idea of seeking help in her difficulty in religion was as remote from her as seeking help from her husband himself, right? She was not simply miserable. She began to feel alarm at the new spiritual condition never experienced before in which she found herself. She felt as though everything were beginning to be double in her soul, just as objects sometimes appear double to overtired eyes. She hardly knew at times what it was she feared and what she hoped for, whether she feared or desired what had happened or what was going to happen. And exactly what she longed for, she could not have said. "Ah, what am I doing?" she said to herself, feeling a sudden thrill of pain in both sides of her head. When she came to herself, she saw that she was holding her hair in both hands, each side of her temples, and pulling it. She jumped up and began walking about. So this is a powerful reading because we get to hear all those different emotions of shame, humiliation. She's terrified. She's feeling hopeless, and she's not even feeling any solace through religion, through faith. She's like, faith will condemn me too. So the people are going to condemn her. Her faith is going to condemn her. The country is turned her back. There's nowhere for her to go. What is she to do? She has no answers. And she's so distressed that she's literally pulling her hair in both hands and didn't even realize, like, she's pulling the hair out of her head. And she's like, what am I doing? And that's powerful because now later in the book, okay, like I said, I was going to tell you the ending. She ends her life. She throws herself under a train, and she says, in a book says, quote, she's under the train at this moment, and she's waiting for the train to move. And at the same time, at the same instant, she was terror-stricken at what she was doing. Quote, where am I? What am I doing? What for? She tried to get up, to drop backwards, but something huge and merciless struck her on the head and rolled her on her back. Lord, forgive me all, she said, feeling it impossible to struggle. A peasant muttering something was working at the iron above her. In the light by which she read, the book filled with troubles, falsehoods, sorrow, and evil, flared up more brightly than ever before. Lighted up for her, all that had been in darkness flickered, began to grow dim, and was quenched forever. And the reason why that's a powerful reading to me is that we see that once again, she's in such emotional distress that she doesn't realize what she's doing. She says, where am I? What am I doing? What for? And then she tried to get up. This is after she's thrown herself under a moving train. She tries to get up, to drop backwards, and then the train has overtaken her. So she wanted to live, and she even says, Lord, forgive me all. So she's asking for forgiveness at the very end of this. And I'm reading this because there are times emotionally where we're in such distress that we don't realize what we're doing. We're so in the thick of things. And that's the value of meditation, journaling, cooking, doing things that take time, and also sharing our emotions with other people. As you can see, she felt like there was no one she could talk to. That was not true. The husband had made changes and wanted to talk to her. And there's a point where he's talking about his love for her, but she's in such disrepair that she doesn't hear what he's saying. She's unable to take it in. And when we talk about going to therapy, don't wait until you're upset or you're angry. If things are going well for you right now, if you're firing on all cylinders, this is the time to get help. I was just on a cruise ship, like I said, for 2 weeks, and I had put my teletherapy on hold while I was on a cruise ship. And then by the second week, I go, wow, I've been doing really well on a cruise ship. Like, I was journaling, I was meditating, I was working out. And even my friends who I was FaceTiming with, they were like, Leo, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, man. Like, your energy, your vibe, everything is just like, I'm digging it, right? And then I was like, and then there was a part of my brain that was like, oh, I guess I don't need the therapy. And then I realized, no, this is exactly why I need to be consistent with the therapy, because it's been the therapy going once a week, or teletherapy once a week, and of course and also I'm part of groups and other things to safe places for me to share my experiences, and that's been a part of it. It would be ridiculous for me to think that because I haven't seen her in a week and a half, that it was all me. So I immediately booked. I was like, can we talk tomorrow? Because I'm doing great right now, and I just know that it's transitory. It's not permanent. My serenity, my peace, my bliss, transitory. And Anna Karenina shows us that. She throws herself under a train and then was like, wait, what? What am I can't, what? I don't want to do this. Lord, forgive me. And there's story after true story where people have shared that. If you listen to survivors, they share that. And right now, like I said, I feel safe. I feel good. I feel like I'm in a beautiful place. And there's a quote. I just watched this movie, The Power of the Dog. And in the quote, he says that he said, and the most dangerous place on earth is where you're safe. I love that quote. I love it because it makes me think about baseball. And, when you hit the ball and you're running around the bases, you get to first base, you're not safe. You get to second base, you're not safe. You get to third base, you're not really. You get home, boom, safe, right? But you can't stay at home. Now you got to go sit back in the dugout, and you got to get ready for the next at bat, for the next round of pitches that are going to come at you, right? And those pitches are challenges, obstacles, and you don't know what's going to be thrown at you. Is it going to be a curveball? Is it going to be a slider? Is it going to be a hook? Is it going to be a fastball? So we're going to get another at bat. Challenges are, we get home, we're safe, and we can high five, we can celebrate. That's great. But know that we're going to have another at bat. The challenges are and the obstacles and the pain and despair, they're going to get some more opportunities to throw themselves at us, to be hurled at us at 93 miles per hour, 65 miles per hour. We don't know. We don't know what's coming at us. Maybe they'll let us bunt. We don't know. But we do know that safety is not permanent. And that doesn't mean that we live on eggshell, we walk on eggshells or look over our shoulders all the time. It just means that It's all transitory. And there's power in that because we do want we do want permanence, right? We want certainty. I want to know exactly what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, how I'm going to do it. I want to know that my home is going to be there, my meal is going to be prepared. We get married, we get a job. All right, I want a paycheck coming in. I know it comes in at the first of the month. Pay my bills. We want certainty. We want safety. And and it's all. And the truth is, it's always going to be. Always going to have to adjust the levels. Sometimes it's going to be a little more safety. Sometimes it's going to have to be a little bit more risky. People are fleeing countries. You're in the military. The risk might go up. You do what you can to be safe. It's transitory. That's the beauty of it. So if whatever you're feeling right now, set your timer. If you have a stopwatch, set your timer and see how you feel right now. If it seems unbearable, like you're not going to survive it, see how long that feeling lasts. Time your emotions, time that despair, time your joy, time your happiness. And if you're right now saying, you know what, Leo, I don't feel anything. I have some anhedonia. I'm kind of numb to life. I'm not experiencing any pleasure. Alan Watts said, there can be no pleasure without skill, without developing a skill. I tell you what, I sit down with my guitarist, one of the hardest things in the world that I'm tackling right now. But every now and again, I hear a note where I go, oh, I hit that note perfectly. And I get a little dose of pleasure. When I swim, I go for a swim. A lot of times my shoulders are creaky. I'm cold. I'm wet. I don't really like going swimming. I like it like once I get in the pool and start moving, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is great. And then when I feel the stroke, when it feels like I'm just gliding through water, oh, that's where the pleasure kicks in. The pleasure is not really going to kick in from, binging a Netflix episode or food or drugs or alcohol. The real pleasure is going to come from an amount of suffering, of being uncomfortable, of not being safe. I really appreciate you all for tuning in. It's so wonderful to see that the podcast is growing, the listenership is growing. I mean, we have people listening in. Now we got people from, from the U.S., obviously. We got Australia. Shout out to Australia. United Kingdom, Canada, Taiwan. Shout out to Taiwan. Germany. Let's go, Germany. I appreciate all of you. And then the States, we got L.A., New York, Phoenix, Chicago, Albany, New York. What's up, Albany? We got Washington, D.C. So there's other places, but those are the top the top 5 places that are tuning in. So wherever you are in the world, just know that the fact that we have people from Germany to the U.S. to Taiwan tuning in, it means you're not alone in whatever you're experiencing. Right? This is part of the human experience. And I really appreciate you tuning in and letting me be a part of your human experience. Remember, this podcast is not a substitute for you going to get help. Call the 1-800-SUICIDE or any of the international phone numbers that are listed in the show notes. And, there's talk, there's chat, there's text. 'Cause I know sometimes we don't have you may not have the privacy to talk. So you can chat, you can text, you can write letters. Don't forget about writing a letter to someone, or write a letter to no one. Just drop it in the mailbox. That's equally. You ever see a kid write a letter to Santa Claus? They're happy. They're happy. Santa Claus doesn't write back, but they're happy, right? Go to thrivewithleo.com for one-on-one coaching with yours truly. Let's get to tomorrow together.